I've been seeing a lot of Jamaican Indians claim to be the original Jamaicans, and they make claim that they are Taino or Arawak. But I'm going to tell you now, it is virtually impossible to be fully Taino or fully Arawak, however you want to call them.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to this channel once again. Thank you very much for the love you keep showing us, subscribing to our channel and watching every time we make a new upload. So guys, I watched this video and the topic is one that always creates strong emotions. Jamaican identity, Taino ancestry, African origins, and who gets to claim Jamaican culture. I want to say from the start, this is not a hate video. It's about context, history, and accuracy. Because identity conversations get dangerous when they are reduced to absolutes. So guys, watch this video of this lady and then I'll be back with more reaction. Thank you.
I'm going to try and fit all of this into one video, but I'm not sure if I can. My tongue is blue because I've been eating Jolly Ranchers. Anyway, I've been seeing a lot of Jamaican Indians claim to be the original Jamaicans, and they make claim that they are Taino or Arawak. But I'm going to tell you now, it is virtually impossible to be fully Taino or fully Arawak, however you want to call them. It's only 0.5% of Jamaicans that have Taino or Arawak blood, and it's traces of it. So I'm talking 1, 2, 3%. You would never look Taino. And Tainos don't look Indian. Tainos look indigenous. Yeah? Impossible. Impossible. And in order to be Taino or Arawak, you need to be a Maroon. Now, when I speak to Jamaican Indians, or when I see Jamaican Indians on TikTok, I always say to them, so you're saying you're Taino, so you're Maroon? They'll say, no, I'm not Maroon. Because Maroons are Africans. They are a mixture of different types: north, east, west, south, central Africa. Yeah? And so you'll say, so you're Maroon, and they'll say, no, I'm not a Maroon, I'm Taino. But it's impossible to be Taino without being a Maroon, because back in the day, the first Maroon groups that ran up into the hills, and I'm talking years, I'm talking the 1700s, that ran up into the hills, it was the Tainos and the Maroons that mixed together into the hills. And then by 1700, the Tainos were killed off. They were gone. No such thing as a Taino in Jamaica by the 1700s. People might have been mixed, maybe half, because their parent might have been Taino. I'm talking the 1700s. But then as you go along generations, that dilutes down. So it's impossible. The Indians in Jamaica came in the 1800s, way after the Tainos ran up into the hills with the Maroons. So how could you descend from Arawak or Taino if you guys came after? And if Tainos and Arawaks did not look Indian, they looked indigenous. It is very racist to say that Tainos and Arawaks looked Indian. No, they did not. They looked indigenous. And for those that also don't know, Africans were visiting the Caribbean, the Americas, before slavery. So the Tainos and the Arawaks would have known what Africans look like, because I've seen in the comments some people were saying, oh, Africans only arrived in Jamaica during slavery. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. It is common knowledge that Africans were visiting the Americas, the Caribbean, before slavery. Common knowledge. So this hierarchy thing, saying that you're the original Jamaicans over the black Jamaicans, why are you doing that? And that's why I said, you see the statement, out of many one people really need to look into that properly. They need to look into where it comes from, why the statement was even put out there, what they needed to do with Jamaica so that Jamaicans would listen to the government, because that's where out of many one people comes from. This is definitely going to be a part 2. Yeah, and then you need to know the history of the Maroons and the true history and what they did and da-da-da. But don't get it twisted. You see this whole we're Taino, we're Arawak, that's a common lie, you know. It's common. It's not just one group of people that say this. Bare Jamaicans say, I know bare people that were told that they're Taino and Arawak, and when they've done their ancestry, it didn't come back as that at all. It came back as like Amazigh, North African or Indian. Mine's came back as Amazigh, North African and Indian from India. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm so proud of it. I don't see why we're trying to claim a group of people that died out in the 1700s. It doesn't even make no sense, like, if you think about it logically. And remember, the term out of many one people, remember why that was created? That was created because the governments of Jamaica wanted black Jamaicans to think that everybody is equal. That's all it was made. They wanted black Jamaicans to feed into their bullshit to feed into the fact that non-black Jamaicans were going to come into the island, create businesses and and whatever, feed from the island, and then the money would go straight back out of Jamaica. So most of the money from Jamaican tourism does not go into Jamaica, it goes straight back out. You see what I'm saying? So there's a lot of politics around the saying out of many one people. It's got a lot to do with Marcus Garvey as well. There's loads of politics surrounding it. Indentured servitude, labourers, things like that. So you really have to do the in-depth research. Obviously, I will do a book list if anybody's interested to actually read the real history of Jamaica. There's a timeline that I've created in one of my books of Jamaica, and Jamaica's never had a rest period. I learnt this in university. Jamaica has never had a rest period. It's always been an island of rebellion. It's always been an island that has been through a lot. And the people on the island that have been through a lot are the black Jamaicans. Nobody can claim Jamaican culture but black Jamaicans, because it is black Jamaicans that created Jamaican culture. And as I said, before anybody tries to tell me any different, black people have been visiting Jamaica before slavery. Black people have been visiting the Americas before slavery. Black people have been visiting the Caribbean, before slavery. I have a speech impediment, like a lisp. So when you look at it like that, original. Listen, everybody on the planet originates from Africa. This whole way, the original Jamaicans are the It's important to read, and it is important to do your own relevant research. By the way, all this is on Google. Don't listen to me. Go and Google it. Google. As I said, don't take me for gospel. You hear information and you always go and back it up. You do your own research on it. But what I'm saying is there is a problem with anti-blackness amongst non-black Jamaican communities. We've got to start talking about.
Welcome back. Thank you for watching that video until the end. So guys, this lady says Hindu Jamaicans claiming to be original Jamaicans or Taino is impossible, especially being fully Taino. Historically speaking, she is mostly correct if we are talking about purity. Modern genetic studies show that less than 1% of Jamaicans carry detectable Taino ancestry, often around 0.2 to 0.5%. That doesn't mean Tainos vanished without a trace. It means their population was decimated, absorbed, and overwhelmed demographically. The key education points: Spanish colonization, disease, forced labor, intermixing with Africans and Europeans. So when someone today claims to be fully Taino in Jamaican, science does not support that. But claiming some ancestry or cultural connection is a different conversation. She also says Tainos don't look Indian. As we know, Tainos were indigenous Caribbean people related to the Arawakan-speaking groups from South America. They did not resemble South Asian Indians. Confusing these identities often comes from colonial labeling, not real anthropology. She also argues that to be Taino or Arawak today, you would have to be Maroon, and that's where things get more complicated. Historically, some indigenous survivors did merge with Maroon communities, yes, but all Maroons had indigenous ancestry, and not all indigenous survivors became Maroons. Maroons are primarily African descendants. Some indigenous integration occurred, but Maroon does not mean Ottomanic Taino lineage. So saying you must be Maroon to have indigenous ancestry oversimplifies a very complex survival story. By the 1700s, the Taino population as a distinct, organized people in Jamaica was effectively destroyed. That part is historically accurate, but extinction in colonial terms often means loss of political and cultural autonomy, not total genetic disappearance. Extinction doesn't always mean erased. Sometimes it means absorbed. She says everyone on Earth traces back to Africa, and according to modern genetics, that is the scientific consensus. But here is where I want to slow this down, because not everyone accepts science as their framework for understanding human origins. Many people understand origins through belief systems: Christianity, Islam, Hindu, indigenous creation stories. These belief systems were never designed to explain DNA or migration. They explain meaning, morality, and identity. So, when people reject out of Africa, it's not always ignorance. Sometimes it's worldview. The problem online is that people mix biology and belief and then argue as if they're the same thing. No, they are not. This is actually one of the strongest points she made. Jamaica has never had a true rest period. From indigenous resistance to Spanish rule to British slavery to Maroons' War to post-emancipation struggle, Jamaica has always been in a state of resistance. Some sharp, Maroons, labor uprising, cultural rebellion, the language, music, religion. And of course, the conversation becomes dangerous. I know this because Jamaican culture was created primarily by Africans and their descendants under extreme oppression. This is historically undeniable, but culture is not the same as race. An important distinction: origin versus participation, creation versus belonging. If someone is born, raised, socialized, and shaped by Jamaica, culture becomes lived and not borrowed. African Jamaicans are the foundation of Jamaican culture. But culture itself is not biologically de- but culture itself is not biologically gated. There are theories suggesting African contact with the Americas before Columbus, based on currents, artifacts, and oral traditions. However, mainstream historians classify this as theory, not settled facts. Possible does not mean proven, and that distinction matters. Guys, at the end of the day, Jamaican identity is not a purity test. It's a story shaped by survival, resistance, mixing, and memory. When we reduce identity to absolutes, only this, never that, we repeat the same colonial thinking that tried to erase us in the first place. Jamaica was never simple, and that complexity is not weakness. It's the source of Jamaican strength. Thank you guys for watching. Please drop in the comments and tell me what do you think about this conversation. Please subscribe to our channel because this channel is about these kind of conversations. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you.